So, welcome to the ladies episode 6. I am here today and I am with my same group of favorite women, Carla, who is still at Tenerife. Welcome. Luna, I think you're in Copenhagen, maybe? No, somewhere? Danish? Oh, Jutland. And Sarah, you are in England at the moment. These women are my favorite women to help me fix the world, and it really does need fixing. Today, we are going to talk about Christmas. This is our first seasonal feature episode. I wonder if we're doing more in the future, but Christmas really is a thing. And I'm very excited to hear what thing it is for you girls, because for me, I don't think I should start. That would ruin it. So I'm planning to release this one a bit earlier so that our listeners can benefit from listening to it before the actual holidays, somewhere mid-December. And I hope that we can get some shoulders down and maybe open some perspectives if anyone feels stressed out or under some kind of pressure from this precious tradition. So did any of you plan for something specific?
I've got so much to say about Christmas. I could do the whole podcast.
Oh.
Like by myself.
Then I'll stop you here and there. But go on. I'll try to shut up myself.
I love Christmas. Like, we love Christmas in our family, always have. There's a but. I'm gonna, because we're unschooling families, so I think we want to bring in or talk about this through the lens of unschooling, because I'm sure all four of us and anyone listening will have been through some kind of like unpackaging, well, that's kind of a metaphor, thing around Christmas, right? I'm sure we've all had a lot of like shifts, and we've probably all had these like journeys around what we think about Christmas. I don't think I'm unique in that. So I'm happy to start, just because I do have a lot to say, but you guys will have to just tell me to be quiet, because I will talk for a really long time about Christmas. We have heaps of fun at Christmas time, and we spend a lot of money, and that's controversial because it's very fashionable to project commercialism and consumerism now, right? Mm-hmm. My family is like the antithesis of that, that's been like a deprogramming for me, because we follow our kids' lead in that, actually, and they love it. They bloody love presents. They love presents. They are not up for austerity at all. They want all the treats. They want to go big, and we spent a lot of years trying to rein that in. And now we just go for it, and it's actually way more fun. So that's the short version.
Well, I feel you're holding back, and maybe we should just say it out loud. We've been all day trying to get together to do this podcast, and I think we're all sitting on things that we thought we would say, and we're all confused. Usually we talk on top of each other, and now we're like, so maybe this opening dance is a little different from what we would usually do. I think you should totally unpack it. So what's with the consumerism versus your kids' need for Christmas, and your opinion, and how did it change? And
there's nothing there for me now. Nothing. It's just like whatever. It's like, really, it's whatever. but I remember a time when my kids were small, and I felt the weight of all of the messaging in the kind of parenting world, particularly the crunchy mum natural parenting world that I was part of, that said that your children can only have presents handmade in Germany out of wood, or something that you foraged or made yourself. That was the world that I was surrounded by, and I was like, I have to protect my children from the consumerism, which is so evil and terrible, and it's going to swallow them up. But what I actually did was go so far the other way that Christmas became very stressful for me, because every time someone gave them a Barbie doll or something made from plastic, I was like, oh my God, they've given them something that's made by like a big company, and like it's like terrible, and then like it's going to destroy them and ruin them, and they're not going to understand the true meaning of Christmas. So we did everything. Even before I had children, actually, I was constantly battling the excesses of Christmas. And we did like donate money instead of give presents. We did a $30 present, $30 Christmas. We did a only secondhand shopping Christmas. We've done like I was constantly trying to hold like but that was actually not very much fun, because I was literally fighting the entire family, and it was very stressful because I had expectations and attachment to outcomes, and I got very stressed out about it. So ultimately, where I ended up was going, what am I actually trying to do? I was trying to teach lessons. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to teach lessons. Actually, what really changed it for us is my mother-in-law dying. So Dylan's mum died when Violet was almost 7. So that is nearly 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago, my mother-in-law died. And she was full on with shopping and presents. And we felt like we constantly had to offset that with some kind of strange like austerity thing, anti-consumerism. But actually, after she died, we realized that was part of how she showed love to our family and to her grandchildren, and it gave us a totally different perspective on that. And now, funnily enough, I'm in lots of parenting groups, and I always see these posts come up, parents saying, we only want our children to have natural presents at Christmas, or we only want our children to have experiences, and how do we tell the grandparents that we don't want presents? And I'm like, don't tell the grandparents that you don't want presents. Let the grandparents shower their grandchildren in the way that they want to show love. Because actually what I realized after was that I was trying to control how other people showed our family love, by telling other people what was acceptable for our family to receive, which is actually really controlling, even though I wasn't honest about that being what I was doing. So that was a massive shift for us. And now, I mean, we've not lived in our home country and seen our family for several years. And actually, the kids really miss that. The kids really miss the massive, crazy Christmases with lots of presents and sharing food with lots of family members. We've been, apart from 2019, we were with Luna's family. And I'm sure she's going to tell you some stories about Christmas from the perspective of her family and how important Christmas trees are in her life. I know she's going to bring up the Christmas tree story.
Well, I mean, we could try to do a round on the presents, the theme of presents. I think, I mean, I suppose that the journey that you have been on with going from, well, through stages on how you see the present situation, at least you know now what is a happy Christmas for your children. What is I suppose we all want this celebration to be a happy day, like any other Tuesday we want to be a happy day. This is something that we want to be a happy day, and now you know what they want. They really want presents. I have these strange random children that do not like presents. They can talk to me in June and say, I'm stressed out about Christmas. I think maybe my grandparents want to give me presents, and I don't know what I want, and I'm not sure I want a present, and how can we cope with it this year? They really don't like it, really. And so, I mean, it's not just about whether you're for or against Barbie dolls and for or against expensive Christmas presents or showering of presents. It's also a personality thing. And I think, to me, the most important thing is that we stop to think about how we want. I mean, Christmas is probably just after putting your kids in school without even giving it a second thought. You celebrate Christmas the way your parents celebrated Christmas, and you just do it, and that's how it's done, and therefore we do it this way, and everybody are supposed to pretend that they're happy. especially the children, everybody are looking at the children and they have to smile and have stars in their eyes and be all happy and joyful about all the presents and the entire scene. And my kids, they don't like it. It's not about consumerism. I don't like consumerism if it's blindfolded, but the fact that my kids don't get presents for Christmas is more because they don't want them. Is that radical?
What do they want then?
For Christmas?
They like, is it just like the material presents they don't want, or do they want like money or experiences or like something else, or they just...
If we could have a Christmas where we didn't have to open presents, that would probably be the preferred version for most of them. Might be that my youngest might enjoy unwrapping 1 or 2 presents, maybe, if he was in the mood for it. They just want it to be, I don't know, they want to sing songs and be around people they like and have, and now I'm saying traditional Christmas food, which cannot be traditional when you're both vegan and allergic to gluten. So, I mean, we do our special cauliflower thing, but that's what we eat. Maybe they do want something that they can think of. They want to do all the decorations, but actually mostly it's the girls who want that. Then we have a movie we always watch during the holidays, not necessarily on Christmas evening. They like doing that. And they like the songs, they like the smells, and they prefer if they can be around their oldest sister, who does not live with us. That's what they want for Christmas. And they don't want to travel. They say, if we could not travel that day, not be in transit. Yeah, that's what they're asking for. Same thing for New Year. But really, they do not enjoy it, the whole presents situation at all. And maybe I ruined it. I don't know. Maybe I ruined it. Maybe it's my fault. I don't know.
It's interesting because I'm assuming that's quite rare, like to not like actually not like it, and not just be neutral and be like, oh, I don't really care about the presents, but I don't mind them. But it sounds more like they actually mind it. They don't really like it. They'd rather not. And that's quite rare. I'm just wondering, where did that, like, has it always been like that? Where did that come?
So there's something I did on purpose, which it was a strategy. I don't want to give them really expensive stuff for Christmas or for birthdays. Say they need a new phone or a new gamer computer or some musical instrument, anything expensive, let's say more than $1,000 worth, something expensive that you wouldn't normally hand out on a Tuesday, or even like less, something more than, I don't know, I don't even know what $1,000 is, I'm too tired, but something that you couldn't normally just go buy. And then you say, okay, you can have that for your birthday, or it's a normal response from parents to say, you can put that on your list of wishes for Christmas. And I didn't want that because I found it a trap when I have 4 children. Let's say one of them really need a new computer, and we save up for that for Christmas, but I have 4 children, and the 3 others, they get something value of a t-shirt because that's what they need and want for Christmas. Do we need a financial democracy? Is it unfair? Will they feel, why did that person get a new computer while I just got a new pillow? You know, I don't know. I just found if there's something they need and they really need it and I can afford it, I'd rather give it to them on a regular Tuesday and they can all have a pillow for Christmas, because that will just make things easier basically for me, but also between the children. So that part I did ruin on purpose. But I mean, yeah, And I personally don't like Christmas. Now I've said it. I don't like it. I hate everything about it. There's nothing.
Why do you hate it? That's so interesting. Why do you hate everything about it?
It's the pressure, I think. Being the central person in the family. I mean, the leader of planning and executing this thing. At least it was my job 10 years ago when they were smaller. I had to make sure that it all went well. And I'm not even focused enough to be able to see if I remember to buy a Christmas present for each of them. I mean, maybe I forgot one, or I had 3 presents for one of them and only 2 for the rest, or whatever. I can't. I mean, where would I put a list where I noted it, where no one could find it? I don't have that kind of places in my house when I had a house 10 years ago. And well, so there's the pressure and all the handmade bullshit that I agree. I mean, I was part of that as well. Not that I didn't agree with it or do it, but it is a pressure from the communication about parenting. It has this, all the Instagrammable things where people hand knit the nisuhu. What's that in English? It was just, I'm not much of a planner. I mean, I maybe I can start preparing Christmas on the 20th of December. It's not really a thing for me to start thinking about it in November, let's say even October. I'm very much in the here and now. So suddenly we're there and it's Christmas, and oh my God, I need a tree, I need presents, I need to prepare for a dinner. I never even think about the next meal. I don't shop for the next meal. I mean, I'm here now. I can plan what I'm cooking for lunch, but I'm not planning what I'm cooking next Tuesday. I can't do that. It's not my thing. And then suddenly you're there and it has to be all perfect. And I don't know. I usually had a meltdown. Wanting to, and also when I lived in Denmark, it's in the dead center of the winter. I mean, I'm clinically depressed at this point. There is no sunlight. I have no surplus of energy of any sort. And now I have to be this smiling mommy in a red apron with a hat and something shiny everywhere with little cookies and handmade presents, and everything has to be so, and all these guests that I'm supposed to invite that do not like me and don't want to come. I mean, or all these invitations that I get, and everyone wants us to be at the same time, 10 different places. And if we say no to one or yes to another, everything explodes. That's also my solution was to leave. Basically, when we started leaving Denmark for the Christmas, it helped a lot. It helped a lot. And maybe that's also one of the reasons my kids don't want they don't want the hype of Christmas, because they've seen my meltdowns. I don't know. I have a kid's alarm going on in the room. Just a second, I'll be back. There's a phone saying a weird sound.
Well, that's an interesting, Cecilie has a different kind of Christmas tradition to my family, and maybe that's so interesting because we talk a lot in the unschooling space about our kids being self-directed and whatever, but we do often discount the role modeling stuff. And my parents, particularly my dad and Dylan's mum, separate families but same, both love Christmas and both made such an effort to make Christmas like really special. In my family, we always had these particular traditions. A particular candlestick that literally comes out at Christmas, a candlestick, gets polished and everything. A particular jar that never ever comes out apart from Christmas, that gets particular lollies put in it. Particular, like the box of Christmas decorations come out.
Who knows where that jar is?
My mum knows where it is, and it still
and
comes
remembers
out.
to buy the lollies.
Yeah, my mum.
Yeah, okay, your mom, but I was the mom. I had to do that. I can't do it. I'm even getting a little tense.
I know you've got trauma. You've got trauma, obviously.
But I think so many people have trauma around Christmas because it is just one of these times where everybody wants everything to be perfect. And it has to be perfect because it's this one time of the year where everyone gets together, or I don't know why, but there is this built-in pressure, and for many reasons. And well, just listening to you, it's really interesting because I mean, I could probably do an entire podcast or 2 or 3 around just Christmas myself as well, because like everyone else, yeah, you have this huge history with it. And when you were talking, Sarah, about letting the grandparents show love the way they want to show love, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying blah, 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 because it's kind of like, it's such a balance to find. So I'll share one story because I was in the same kind of mom circles around the same time when our oldest kids were young. So the crunchy, non-toxic, non-plastic, no China crab, like the whole handmade wooden elf thing. And I did not want any plastic. It's like not, from the charity shop, that's fine because it's already been produced. So I mean, if I buy it, I mean it, and that's true. It doesn't contribute to the overproduction because it's already been like it's secondhand, right? So I was like,
but
that's
is that
good.
even true, Luna?
I don't know, but that was
the
my
secondhand shop is a very good excuse for people to buy new things because they're not actually throwing out the old things. They're just giving them to charity.
But that was like that was the reasoning. But anyway, the point being that I tried to get my parents to buy stuff from secondhand shops and they wouldn't, because for them it's just not in their generation, I guess. And it's like they associate it with poverty and not having this, I don't know, they would not do it. So they insist, and they still do to this day, on buying stuff new, and if they can buy it on Black Friday, that's great because then they'll get an even better offer. Like they're like, but they're not like, they don't have any like ill intentions or anything. It's just like how they work and how they are. So anyway, they knew, my mom knew exactly because she asks, what do you want for Christmas and blah, blah, blah. And she knew how I was and what I thought about all these things. And so this must have been probably the first Christmas when we were back in Denmark. And it was at our house for once, which also is an entire story in itself, because that was very, very hard for my mom to actually let go of some of the control and have someone else actually arrange Christmas. But they came to our house and they rocked up with this huge, big package, like thing, wrapped in commercial wrapping paper, which already set my heart beating, and I could not like stand still because I couldn't actually think of anything else, because it's like, oh my God, I'm getting this commercial wrapping paper that's awful in my house. And I completely can't remember, probably. Yeah, probably from that like awful chain store full of like plastic crap. Anyway, I knew at that point, I knew what was in that thing, because my daughter wanted something and they knew she wanted it, and they had of course gotten it for her. And I was gonna get it. I'm like, it's not that I didn't want her to have it, I was just gonna get it for her in a charity shop. Anyway, they rocked up with that. She unpacks it, and of course, oh my God, it's this horrible Barbie castle in like pale pastel greenish, pinkish, like and bought new, and my daughter was like over the moon, and I was like probably the biggest bitch face ever on the planet Earth. I was really pissed, and I was just like I could not enjoy the moment. Like I couldn't at all. The only thing I could think of was, I specifically told you I do not want plastics. And what do you bring? You bring plastics, and you bring a huge plastic thing. Like it was just, everything was wrong about it. There was so much. And there was a lot more to that Christmas and to the other Christmases. But I'm just relating to your story. I was not able to just see the kindness, to just be happy for my daughter, to just go, what the hell, who the fuck cares? Just be happy. Just the whole thing about these values, because they were my values, and I was clinging so much to them that they completely took over my life. They completely took over the relation between everyone, wasn't in the center anymore. The whole thing about love and giving and happy and blah, 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 all the Christmassy stuff, nothing was in the center anymore. The only thing that was in the center were my like values and like she overstepped my boundaries and she lots of things, right? And today it seems so stupid, but at the same time, I also know that there was a lot of history behind that, of having grown up and my entire childhood having my boundaries overstepped by my mom, who did not listen, who did not give me any choice, who was very authoritarian, like all the whole. So that entire, like that story also played into it for me, because that was just yet another, like I've even left home and still I cannot get to choose and decide. You still have to come with. So I think, without saying that everyone carries the same amount of like psychological trauma to that point, but I think there is, to some extent, there's some of that for all the families, because there's this generational thing where when you want to decide what goes on for your children, it to some extent has to do with what you decided everything when I was a kid. Like, it's my turn now. Like, don't, like the parents overstepping. And that can be with the presents or with the food or with when do you dance around the Christmas tree or how do you dance around the Christmas tree or blah, blah, blah. That's like loads. And so I was just like, when you were talking, it's like, that just came to mind because it's just an interesting, there's so many layers of everything. Yeah,
it's an interesting balance to find between I think we all agree on letting go and being attached to outcome and trying to control everyone around us. That we're too experienced parents by now, so we know that it's probably not the best path to walk down in any case, Christmas or not. But on the other hand, you also have to go through the day and be able to enjoy it and see your children enjoying it, whether it's a regular Tuesday or it's Christmas Day. And in that way, some boundaries sometimes have to be set and some choices in some families have to be made. I have a big and very fragmented family. There are lots of different options as to whom to spend Christmas with and where, in which country and what day and what time of the day and which traditions to hold on to and who to call granddad. There are lots of things that are not easy choices. And even though I cannot control the outcome and do not want to control everyone involved, I cannot either just float, because it's not a one direction. It's not like a river going one way. I have to make choices and I have to be able to stand up for these choices. And that's why leaving was such a great option, because, I'm not in the country. End of story. No to everyone was a very good solution for us.
But that's now the whole deschooling thing, isn't it? Like finding, why is it that you want to set a boundary or have a boundary?
It's a deschooling solution to run away and hide somewhere.
No. I mean, it's a solution.
Worked perfectly.
Probably
it's done
like
for many years now. I think it's 10 years of not being in Denmark for Christmas. Perfect.
What's the fight, flight, or freeze? Which one is it?
All three combined. Yeah. I want to hear.
But the whole.
Sorry.
Now the whole finding the balance. That's the thing. That's the deschooling process to like, which boundaries do you want to keep and which boundaries are like healthy to keep? The ones that are set for a valid, legitimate, good reason, well thought through reason, not just because you're still carrying childhood trauma about not being able to decide something, not because, I don't know, whatever, something. Because like Sarah said, and I have the same experience, once I could let go of a lot of stuff, it's just a way more, it's way nicer. It's a way nicer place to be. And there's much more love and kindness and happiness and Christmassy things. Once I could let go of that need to control whatever, like it's just getting past the things.
I think also it's getting past and letting go of allowing it to become so important.
Yeah.
But the problem is that other people involved could find it very important. And another problem that I've really had over the years in the different contexts. I mean, I hear you talk about the jar and the lollies, Sarah. I've celebrated Christmas in many different families because my family consists of many different constellations, and I also have my in-laws, and they don't mix with my biological family, which is not one family but several families. So to me, Christmas has been many different scenes, and the rules of the games are different everywhere. The problems are different everywhere. The expectations are different. I have a Christmas scene where we had to, where it was high society, men in antique uniforms and women in it looked like something out of a movie. 400-year-old glass things on the table, and I've spent Christmas, in my hippie family, sitting on the floor eating dal. It's so many different ways of celebrating, and my in-laws do it in a very traditional Danish way. Did I ever spend Christmas at? So in my husband's family, the system was they changed between his sister and his mother hosting. So they already had so when would we ever, just 1 year choosing to spend Christmas with my family would be to choose my mother-in-law or my sister-in-law, and that already presented a problem. I think all of these underlying scenes of negotiation that goes on behind the scenes of Christmas, especially and I've had this since I was a very small child, that I had to make a choice, which meant that someone would be let down. And I also had to perform, because then now I'm here and I'm supposed to be very happy when I unwrap the presents. I'm supposed to like the dessert. I'm supposed to know the songs. In the very posh family, I'm supposed to know which fork to use at what time and when to do what toast. And I'm supposed to be able to sing Christmas songs in 3 languages. And it was just so many expectations. It really, I mean, I have fond memories, but I also have horrified memories of Christmas. People being drunk, people having extreme arguments, shouting, things being thrown, things being set on fire. It's and maybe we all want the Christmas that Sarah talks about. Mm-hmm. And maybe it feels like a failure to not have it. And I had to get over that, and I had to just leave it all behind. Say, fuck it. Let's just go for a walk. I really dearly hate it. Now that we talk about it, I really do. I'm curious, Carla. How is Christmas at Tenerife? Is presents even? I mean, I was at Tenerife or the Canaries many times for Christmas. That was my escape. And the present thing was on the Holy King's Day.
You should have come to my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no trauma stories. I have never had pressure. I mean, my parents came to the Canary Islands from the mainland. So I have no more family here. So maybe this is something that has to do. And so they came here, and also our neighbors, that they were friends. They work together, my father and the neighbors. So it's like our family here. So we celebrate Christmas and other things together. So it's like, and also my parents, the way they think and the way they were with us, and they are open, and they are able to change things. It's like we create our own thing, our own tradition. Even me and my sister were part of it. And maybe we decide this year the presents, we buy whatever, and the next year, oh no, we don't need them so many things. I just want money, I need a computer or whatever. So we decide like every year what we want to do. And my parents always like support or say, yes, okay. We, at the beginning, because we live in a flat, we have like a little tree, and then we moved to this house, the house I am now. And one day we said, no, I want a bigger tree. And my father, we went to the shop and we bought the biggest one, the biggest who could fit in the house. I don't know how tall, but it was like super tall. And then I enjoy, because I like when I say this is a party, and you know me, and I always call party everything, but it's mostly because of the people and that we sit together on the table, and we eat and we talk and we sing and whatever. So yeah, so it's I enjoy a lot all my Christmas in my childhood. And then I wanted to say this also because I think it's kind of curious. Also, my father were 8 brothers and sisters. So till now, they still get together the 27th of December in Valencia, in one place. Everyone live in different places. Before we choose a place in the mainland, and they go there. And now it's always, they are getting older now. My grandparents are dead, because my grandmother was the one cooking and everything. Now they are not here, but all my aunts and uncles. And now it's like my generation and our kids. So they get together this day. So it's like they kind of manage to say this day every year we do this. So I think this is not really nice. There are no conflict, or this place or my place. They just want to see each other and have a nice day. And yeah. So then when I have kids, yeah, I have also this thing with the presents, like a bit with the materials, like no plastic, no sound and lights, and you know. But I had not really much problem, like, because it was only my parents and David's parents. And it's like I say, I trust my parents. It's like I never really have to tell them much. And David's mother is more like, what should I do? She's always asking for instructions. So it was also like easy. And they respect us. If I say, yeah, so I was really like touched about the story of the Barbie castle, because it's not even about the present. It's about your, you know, what you ask for. Because for me, my parents always have respect me, even if they don't understand, or so you know. So yeah, I don't know. Then yes, and now I don't know in which point it's like I only said whatever you want, it's fine. So I let grandparents do whatever they want, and I'm okay. But also I think I can do this because how they are. So I'm not sure. Yeah, so I feel I live Christmas like naturally. Like I don't feel I have to fit in any expectation of anyone. It's like we design how we want it. The Christmas we were in Bulgaria. We just arrived the day before Christmas. We just bought some, I don't know, the decoration thing, but we didn't have a tree. We have this place where you hang your clothes, like tall,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
in English. Yeah. So we just put, this was our tree, and I say, this is our tree. And it's like, we pretend it's the tree. And that is like, it doesn't matter. We just make the party and how we want it. And we decide together, what are we going to cook? And the kids say, chicken. And we say, okay, let's make chicken. So we we did chicken that Christmas. So yeah, but even if we don't get to that Christmas, actually we have the bank breakdown just before we arrived in Bulgaria. We thought we were in Romania, and I started telling the kids like, okay, maybe we have to spend Christmas here, and it's fine. I mean, we have the bar, we have our food, so it won't be like a trauma. It's like for me, the party is like the people and what we can do with what we have.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know, happy people. Yeah, or maybe it's like, like always I say, like the attitude. Um, yeah, and also because I don't have many of the important people for me is not around asking me for anything. So this is very crucial, I think.
That's what works for me as well. That at least we are the five of us. Most years we've been six with my daughter, or even seven with her boyfriend joining. And now we can just talk about it. How do we want Christmas to be? How do we want to celebrate? What's important? And we usually say if everyone can say out loud one thing that's important, then we have 7 wishes for the celebration, and we can accomplish that. Whereas what I felt I had to fit into was a very big scheme of things that had to happen back when I lived in Denmark. Maybe also Denmark is just, I don't know. I mean, I haven't grown up in several countries. I grew up in Denmark with the traditions around me there, and I think it's massive. It's huge. And I found it very hard to feel like I was a good enough mother, and probably I wasn't, especially because I was always freaking out about trying to do something that I didn't like doing, and I didn't know how to accomplish it. And I sort of felt we had to know all the songs and watch all the movies and do all the decorations and visit all the different family members, or at least distribute our time so that all the different family members could get to have some Christmas Eve feeling around my kids and my family. And at the same time, I didn't want us to be too overwhelmed and too absorbed. The solution when you are from fragmented family to just do it 5 times is not a great solution. To celebrate, to do the whole ritual 5 days in a row, it's like this masquerade. It didn't feel good either. So when we left, we could narrow it down to just us. What do we want, and what will make Christmas good for us? That helped a lot. I've been back 1 year, and it was great. I will admit it. It was a wonderful Christmas that we spent with my sister's family, and it was wonderful. But it was, I mean, I'd had quite a few years of healing at that point. And also it's only a few years ago, so I've been a mother for quite some time, and I know how to handle the grandparents and I've let go of many things, and I can also handle kids that are not happy on Christmas Eve, which, you know, if you have more than one, it happens that some of them just don't, you know, don't have a good day. And in the beginning, I would feel like a huge failure if my kids were not happy on Christmas. And now I'm like, you know, I can't control their emotions.
But that's the thing again, because someone at some point, to put it that way, decided that Christmas is special, that it has to be a special day, and therefore there's so much pressure. But in reality, it's just a day like any other, really, like objectively speaking, it's the 24th of December. That's what it is. And that could be any ordinary Tuesday, but there is this pressure building up. And I don't know, I was just thinking what you said, Carla. I think you said a very important word when you talked about the trust. You said, I don't know, I can actually just trust the grandparents. And I just think that's actually a really important word, because I didn't feel like I could trust my mom to buy. Well, I couldn't. It's not that I felt like it's that I couldn't trust my mom to respect my wishes, to buy me something that, you know, I would feel was suitable and all that. Like I couldn't trust her. And I think there's just so many people in general, that's the state of the world, isn't it? That, like that. Sarah, do you remember that meme I shared a few days ago or a week or something about trauma? We're all just traumatized parents, like continuing trauma, passing on trauma to our own children. It's something about thinking about how our parents were traumatized, passing on trauma from their parents to us, who are then passing it on until someone actually decides to stop that cycle. And I think that's what makes Christmas so hard, is that's because most people walk around with unresolved trauma. And then for a lot of people, unresolved trauma oftentimes means that you get a need of, like, you want to control things. And so you have a bunch of people in need of control because they somehow didn't have it at some point. And so it becomes very important for every person to win that game, because you don't feel safe. Well, now it's all about, you know, the nervous system and the trauma and all that. But people aren't feeling safe. They aren't feeling like they can trust the others. They aren't. So everyone is just trying to win. And on Christmas, it's just even worse, because there's this expectation that we should be happy and it should be. So that's the expectation. And this is smack in the whole unschooling, deschooling thing, isn't it? That the whole thing about when you can let go of that, that's when the healing happens. That's when things start to become nice. Like, so over the years, I've moved, and today we're just back doing Christmas at my parents', exactly as my mom wants the Christmas. And do you know what? I love Christmas. I love going to her place. I love doing the things her way. I like, and what's changed? Nothing's changed in the way to be fair, she has calmed down quite a bit, and she's actually way more, like, she listens way more now, and she's not as what would you say, it doesn't feel so much like she's provoking or anything anymore. But anyway, I'm losing that. I was just trying to say that the thing that has changed is me. I've changed. I've decided to let go. I've reached the point where I could let go of needing to. It's okay. I mean, you can stay in control. That's fine. And the thing is also, I think, like, understanding that when I was a kid and when a young adult, and all this thing about Christmas having to be this way, and I'm going to bring you this damn present whether you want it or not, that was about her need of control. She was not able to let go of that need of control, and I wasn't able to let go of mine. So you had two people who just couldn't let go of their, control needs, and just go, but when you aren't able to see the other one and ask, what do you want? And that also makes me think about the whole giving thing. Why are we giving presents, and who should actually do, the whole thing about let someone, it's just so interesting. Like, Sarah, I keep coming back to thinking about that thing you started out saying, about let them show love in the way they want to show love. Yes, and I agree. And you can do that, and then that eases up a lot of things. And at the same time, there's this question of, well, I mean, who's the gift for, and what's the gift giving about? I mean, is the gift, are you giving a gift because you want to feel good, because you want to, you know, have this, oh, I'm giving you a present? Or are you giving a present because you want the other person to feel good? So when I grew up, okay, I hope no one is listening, because this is quite like, it's weird
Luna,
for me, actually.
Luna, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
We are recording a podcast.
I know. I know.
And I'm going
When
to put it on the internet.
When I said no one, I meant I'm sharing it because
Someone
I don't think this is going to reach, this is not going to reach my mom. That's what I think. Because I also don't have the need to, like, you know, but still, it's still a very important part of my process and why I am where, like, the place I'm in today, that's, it all comes from there. But so anyway, just to say that when I grew up, my mom she used to ask me, what do you want for Christmas, or what do you want for your birthday? And then she'd get me something else than what I wrote on the list. That's and I think that's just the whole, that was so weird and something that I spent a lot of time. So yeah, and we're not going to dive into that because there's so much in that. But the whole thing is like, that's, she was not giving gifts for me. She was doing it for her. I mean, it's like, and there's this. So yeah, show love in the way you want to show love. But also, well, if you're going to bring someone a gift, I mean, it should be about them and what they want and what they need and how they want it. So it's like but if you stay in that energy of should, so then you can't solve it, because at one point someone has to step off the should thing and just go, oh, okay, yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
Really, whatever. As we said in the last podcast, whatever. Everything is it's all right. I mean, there's no even.
Do you remember, Cecilie? Cecilie, do you remember the Danish saying? I mean, I know you remember it. That du får ret, jeg får fred.
Yeah.
Can we just translate that? So
you get to be right and I get peace.
Yeah, that's what it means. And it's a Danish saying. And that's the whole thing, isn't it? You get the peace. That's the whole, okay, you win. You get to be right. I let go. And what do I get? I get peace. It's just, yeah. I don't know.
I think if there is trauma in the family, if there is a dynamic that needs some attention or that is just broken, then on the intense days like Christmas or big birthday parties or weddings, it all comes up to the surface and becomes very powerful. And I am from a broken home. And the homes that were constructed afterwards, none of them was my base. I was from the broken part. So everything would be half. And I think that's probably the main reason that I just couldn't handle the thing. And I think if I'm going to extract any sort of recommendation, I would say, I mean, we just have to face who we are with these situations. If you really have this trauma with your mom and the presents, then maybe Christmas is going to be hell for you. But let the kids open those damn presents and don't try to control what's in them. I know you don't do that by now, Luna, but I know that, you know, maybe that would have been the good advice that you could have used at that point in your life to just smooth out those days. And I could for sure have used some good advice. I don't know even know what by now, back when I was trying to navigate the field when the kids were younger, and they didn't have clear opinions yet. And it seems like, you know, half of us are from homes where things are complicated, and the other half are from homes that where things are less complicated. And that divides it. And I think for me, it was always hard to feel that I failed, and to look over the hedge to the neighbor and see something that looked very happy and beautiful and decorated, and seemed like they even had snow on the other side of the hedge, and we just had rain and my chaos. I also noticed we talk a lot about presents. It's funny, isn't it? You know, we talk about Christmas, and the problem really is in the gift giving and the whole dynamic around that has
Presents and food.
Yeah.
And songs. That's Christmas, right?
Yeah, maybe. But then Luna said something about, you know, the real, I don't know, real values. What did you say? You said something about the real idea of Christmas, I think was your wording. Is it about just having fun with food and decorations and presents, or is there a message or a meta value thing that we're trying to pass on? Is that the reason we all started out with the handmade wooden fair trade idea, because we wanted this to have some, I don't know, symbolic value? Or is it really just about, to me, it's mostly about getting over it. I mean, I just enjoy New Year.
Well, I grew up in a Christian family, so Christmas did have a very specific meaning, and all of the ritual and celebration around Christmas, well, a lot of it was related to the religious festival of Jesus' birth. That's how I grew up. And of course, there's a lot of add-ons to that, right? But that's how we celebrated Christmas. We always went to church, as we did every Sunday and probably other days too. That was a very big part of my the ritualism that my mum brought into Christmas. I think possibly we had an easier time growing up because my dad had left his home country, and we had a very small family in Australia. We didn't have a lot of extended family. So we didn't actually grow up with a lot of complexity around having to fit in lots of people. We just had our family, our immediate family, and one grandma. And that one grandma would come to our house at Christmas. So pretty much every Christmas was just like 4 people and my grandma throughout my whole childhood, until I was an older teenager and my sister was born. But still, it was we didn't have to take into account a lot of people's stories and baggage. It was just our small family. And there was always, and we still do it, we have a lot of traditions around Christmas, and my children have brought in their own stuff. And so for me, and we still talk about this all the time, that really anchored Christmas for me. It's like, there could be some stuff going on. My mum and dad did ultimately get divorced. So then there was other people to fit in, and my husband's parents and my parents did all actually get on. So then we started to have some shared Christmases, and at some point there's extended family and people get boyfriends and whatever. But we always had these traditions and rituals that were consistent. And so it has always given Christmas this kind of familiarity and this like foundation. And it's almost like for us that has transcended everything else. There can be all the stuff going on, but still we're doing the Christmas tree a particular way, and everyone decorates it, and we all do it together, and we play the same music every year. Doesn't matter what country we're in, same music. We have stockings. My children still get Christmas stockings. I got a Christmas stocking until I was like 21. And that's like, we can't stop that. We eat the same food. We always have roast. My dad will still drink the same, he buys the same like drinks. Like, it's just, that's how we do it. We wear Christmas hats. We have Christmas pudding, which we flame with brandy. And like my family, my small family now have continued on these traditions from my parents. My dad brought on a lot of the traditions from his parents. And so there's this like familial link too that for me feels really special. And I think that actually has allowed us to navigate some of the things that are challenging, because like every family, we've also had challenging stuff too, like kids not getting what they thought they were going to get and having a tantrum, or kids having too much lemonade, or by the third day of Christmas, kids just being completely overwhelmed and crying, and whatever. We've had all of the things. Families having arguments, families having rifts and not coming into our house because somebody else is there, and like we've had all of that stuff too. But actually, I only remember it now because it's being teased out of me. That's not even important to me, because like we watch The Grinch on Christmas Eve, and that is what we do. That's one of our new traditions that Violet started, and now we're going to have to do it till we die. But to me, that's really The Grinch.
It's a movie?
Yeah.
I don't know it.
It's a book. It is a Dr. Seuss book.
Oh.
And it has been turned into a movie, a couple of different movies actually. Jim Carrey most famously plays The Grinch. It's a Christmas classic.
Okay. No, we watch Love Actually, and that cannot be changed. Like the only thing that cannot be, and maybe it's not on Christmas evening because
sometime
not that systematic, but sometime in December. Yeah. That's the Christmas movie. We have one. And now my son-in-law has introduced another one. So now we have two, and I cannot go up to three. That would be too much.
What's the other one that he has?
He has to watch Home Alone. But not every year. Doesn't have to be every year. He's very nice. If we just watch it sometimes, then we can watch Love Actually most of the years. It's interesting how you can ignore the things and I can't. I'm wondering about the trauma thing. My parents divorced when I was fairly young. I think I was 4. And it was, well, my dad has mental issues. So there had been quite a lot of violence and real chaos leading up to it. And I had to, after the divorce, choose sides, which obviously I didn't. So I was just one version when I was around my mom and another version when I was around my dad, because they hated each other, and one of them is still alive, and I don't think that ever changed. They just disliked each other the rest of their lives, and they didn't want to see any trace of the other in me, and they were both very aware all the time, looking out for little signs of the other. It was especially complicated with my relation to my dad, because I look exactly like my mom, like 95% exactly like my mom. So I was always pretending, trying to not piss anyone off. And also for Christmas, obviously, the first years, it was one Christmas here, one Christmas there, one Christmas here, one Christmas there. They were very different. And I don't know, maybe it's just that coming up every year that I just become the pleaser. The pretending, I worked with it, obviously, over the years. And it really ended when I became a mother, because I couldn't be two versions of myself depending on who was around. So she needed to have the same mother. And that lured out wouldn't say the real me. It's not like it wasn't the real me. It was just like there is one combination of personality traits that I unfold in one context, and another combination that I would unfold in the other context. And that was the dance of my childhood. And then when I became a mom, I would have to be the same mother when I was around her grandparents, no matter which one. But maybe that's really, I mean, of course, Christmas was a big fighting point. They fought over who got to be around me at Christmas, and they fought over the whole logistics of it, and presents. Obviously, they were competing or disagreeing, or putting down the idea of the other person's presents. So my presents were, I mean, it was not a happy moment to receive a present because I couldn't take it home and be sure it was just, and maybe that's what carries through. But I think really observing my children when they were small, and we would attend Christmas parties at my dad's house and my mom's house and my in-laws' house, they didn't enjoy it. But there was this whole expectation that they had to enjoy it. So they started pretending to enjoy it. And I really don't want my children to have to pretend to enjoy in order to please everyone around them. That was what really put me off. And that was the reason we started just saying no, staying home for Christmas. And that made a lot of trouble in the family. And then later on, we said, okay, let's just leave, because that will make it easier for everyone that we're not in the country. And so we started going to Tenerife and adjacent islands. I don't know. I mean, I wish there was a way I could do what Sarah does. Create a Christmas that everyone loves within the framework of the family. Isn't that what we all want?
No. A Christmas that you love. I mean, not everyone's.
No, everyone involved. Me, my husband, my children. Yeah,
okay,
no, not
family.
you. I mean, you can have your Christmas the way you want it, but I just had to give up on it, to be honest. That was my solution, and I'm not proud of it. But at least it works.
I think too, in this era of, talking a lot about childhood trauma, generational trauma, healing, blah, 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 blah. You can then get into this thing of oh, I have to heal everything. And well, you could just go, do you know what? I just fucking hate Christmas. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You can just go, yeah, I just hate Christmas. I know why. I've got some trauma. Don't care. Just going to keep hating Christmas. Because there's a lot of pressure then to go, oh, I have to try to like Christmas. And so now I have to heal the trauma. Well, you might not. You could just continue on with your life, and then maybe or maybe not ever like Christmas, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. You can just I don't know if Jesper, well, people watching this, listening to this might be like, who's Jesper? Jesper is Cecilie's husband.
That's my husband.
And we had this conversation one day in the kitchen this summer about how you can know stuff about yourself. You can know you've got some baggage, you've got some stuff, but you'd be like, yeah, I don't really want to fix that. I'm just gonna I know it's there. I'm just gonna keep it. Maybe I'll work on that in the future. Maybe I'll just keep it forever. There's just so much pressure to be fully healed, and just feels like probably that's impossible. And that's also a lot of pressure to put on ourselves, as well as actually just doing the usual living of our life.
But I think it's very interesting that Christmas is the one thing where I will still sit here and feel I should do better. There's so many things that I'm not doing and not providing. My children never had their own room, their own bed. We travel, we live in a backpack at the moment. There's so many things that we don't do. Everyone else does it. There's so many things we don't have that most people would try to make sure they have. We don't do it. We talked about the bed last time, Luna. Maybe you just prefer to not have a bed. I don't give a, but I can't get over failing Christmas.
Well, I think this is about since this is about unschooling and self-directed education, and we all place a high degree of like value and importance on relationships in our family, like, do your kids care?
No.
Well, so like, why do you have to
As
do
long as we're
anything
not
different?
flying. They don't want to go through security. They hate it, and they don't want that on Christmas.
So just do that one thing, and then you've had an awesome Christmas.
Yeah. And had we had the time, I could also have shared a lot of great Christmas stories, because after we let go, it's just been amazing, like really amazing.
But Cecilie, because you said just now, like failing Christmas, it's like for me, I don't see, because you have failing Christmas because you have an idea of what is Christmas. Yeah, so maybe I don't know this word in English. Like,
Does Jesus care?
Maybe it's
I don't think so.
Yeah. Why don't you can make your own?
Well, I was trying to make my own. I mean, if I should put it into words, I would say I would want Christmas to feel special. I would want that special Christmas vibe to be something my kids would remember and relate to. I would want Christmas to feel a little magical, a little special, a little, there could be some light shining around it. I would like for them to look forward to Christmas and look back on Christmas with fond memories, and for myself also to enjoy it, to be singing, smiling, cooking, wearing that damn apron. But I can't do that.
Why you
For now,
don't
you can't do that for now.
It's kind of too late at this point.
No, I don't think so. No,
My
you know, I
children
don't
are not
think so.
really children anymore.
What?
Well, it's very close to, I can maybe do it for grandchildren. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not little ones.
So then it's not late. So it's not late.
But no, because you know what I was thinking before, that I think I really like Christmas now because I'm actually finally having the Christmas that I wanted when I was a kid, that I didn't have when I was a kid. Because now it's actually, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting in, walking in the door, smelling the duck roasting in the oven, hearing the music, giving my mom a hug, and actually meaning it when I say Merry Christmas, I love you, actually having that whole sharing the food, having my kids drive in from the other side of the country, or like we used to watch in the movies when all the families were driving home for Christmas, blah, 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 and the whole snow falling outside. And that's happening now.
It's not going to snow.
It's not going to snow.
No, not if you insist on being in a warm country. But no, it's like, no, it's never too late for anything. And I think what Sarah said is really, I think that's really spot on too. It's like, it's fine to talking for everyone, like thinking, there's an audience, people are actually trying to listen to something and maybe get a few like ideas of how to handle this whole thing.
So you don't think they just want to hear about my trauma?
Yeah, because it's fine to not be there yet, to be at a place where, well, do you know what, like Sarah said, I just freaking hate Christmas, and that's what it's like right now. And that's actually saying that, or not admitting, but like allowing oneself to be that's part of the healing. Like that's actually part of the, and like with so many other things, I think when we stop, and we're back to the famous outcome, when we stop trying to do something, looking to get somewhere, and we let go, and we're like, okay, or whatever, fuck, I'm fine with whatever, then that's where naturally things happen, because we let go. So I guess it's the same kind of mechanism type thing. I don't know.
But at the same time, it's also because it's about the thing that it's always about. It's about values. And I think when I embarked on the Christmas feeling a responsibility because I had a child. And that's not even true, because I felt responsible even with my siblings when they were small and did a lot of Christmas things. But it got more serious when I had a child of my own. I didn't sort through all of it. I just tried to, make everyone happy, and including me and my daughter, and try to replicate all of the traditions. We have lots of jars and songs and poems and books and things and churches and places and pieces of art, and I have 9 different cookies and things that we always did. And what if I don't want to bake all those? I was just trying to do it all. And over the years, I've learned that I have to, install my own value system and make sure that it's a celebration that we enjoy in my family. And now I can enjoy any sort of Christmas as long as everyone gets to say what's important for them, and then we try to make that happen, just as we would do on any Tuesday. It's the same system, that we're all in this boat together, and we get to say what's important, and we all try to help each other to achieve whatever it is that is needed for our individual happiness, which is also our group happiness. And that's the lesson that I could, teach if I was to give advice out to other traumatized people who hate Christmas. Then it helps to think through what's truly important. For me, it's truly important to be around my kids, and it is also truly important for me to be around my kids on Christmas Eve. And I'm really grateful that my daughter and my son-in-law, they usually choose to travel to wherever on the planet that we are. So we get to be together, all 7 of us. If I can get that, then I'm happy. I've decided that I don't need anything else.
Because it's the most important thing. I mean, you're all together.
Yeah.
And they choose to go to you. I mean,
yeah, I'm very grateful.
I just wondered if I could add one more
element. I don't mind. I might run out of battery on my camera, so
okay.
But then it goes back to being the computer camera. It's not like there might be a little blip, and then it goes on.
Okay. Yeah, just one little other piece to add in that I just thought of while everybody was talking, and it really is relevant to all of us. It's just like this thread, I guess. It almost seems like Christmas is reflective of, and also somewhat a metaphor for, this kind of passing of the baton from one generation to another, or at least this like very concentrated view of that. Like, all of us have talked about how Christmas was, how we grew up with Christmas, how it was in our families, good or bad. And then all of us have got to an age where, we've had children, and then I guess we've almost felt some kind of right or entitlement, or just like it's our time to now say how we want to do Christmas. And there's this interplay between the generations, how things were. Someone has died and can't do the cooking anymore, and the aunties take over, or maybe that person doesn't want to cook anymore, so they hand it on to the next generation. So it's just interesting how these things do happen outside of Christmas as well. But Christmas is just this very, very concentrated view of what is actually entirely natural around this generational transference of ritualism, which I think is really important. And obviously having trauma and negative experiences and separated families, etc., adds some complexity to that. But it's also like a wholly natural and very organic process that this happens. Families pass on something that's important to the next generation, and then the next generation maybe adds their own flavor, maybe keeps some of the symbolism, changes things up, cooks some different food. Maybe the older generation grumble because they want to hold on to the traditional food, but the newer ones want to, and where we grew up, where I grew up in Australia, that's a whole country of that happening. Australia, as like a newer colonized country, the whole country has said, oh no, we want to do these new things now. We want to have prawns and salad at Christmas and cold beer. And then the older generations who are more recently arrived from like England or other countries will be like, well, no, we want to still have turkey, even though it's 40 degrees. And like, it's just like really interesting how there's this like friction between wanting to carry on something from the past because it's really important, and then also wanting to put our own stamp on it as well, and how we handle that, which can be conflict or it can be a beautiful transference. I'm sure it varies in families, and we've pretty happily navigated that stuff in our family. But there has also been times where some matriarchal characters have been like, no, I'm still in charge of Christmas. And then the younger ones have been like, no, but it's my turn, I want to be in charge of Christmas. It's just like an interesting just an interesting element to consider, because I've now got a 15-year-old who wants to be in charge of Christmas, and I'm not ready to hand that on.
Oh man, I wish I had. Well, maybe I do actually have someone who just takes charge. I do. It would be unfair to say I didn't.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's 100% a blessing in my case that the next generation is taking over, and I get to sit back and pretend I'm a grandmother. That's to the benefit of everyone involved. Really, it is. And this year we're getting over the presence problem, as we are all backpacking, all 7 of us, all of us for more than 6 months. None of us wants anything that would have to be a thing, because we do not have any space left in our backpacks. So that problem is 100% solved. There will be no presents for Christmas. It will be easy this year, I'm sure. But I think also it becomes such an intense thing because it really, it's like it intensifies some of the problems. I think also that's the reason the younger mothers do the wooden German handmade fair trade thing, because it intensifies the need in the new parents to make a statement and make decisions and make sure they know how they want to parent, which is a great thing. Really, the problem is that they're trying to control other people, which is something I'm very much against. If you want to control what presents other people give your children, it's the equivalent of trying to control what t-shirts other people wear at the street. You can't control what happens in your children's lives. You can control what context you put them in, and you can control how you cope with things after they happened. So you could, Luna, have burned that Barbie castle if you hated it so much and dealt with the anger of your child. You could have done that. Or you could have, whatever, given it back. Or when I was a child, one of my very fond childhood memories of Christmas is in one of the families where I grew up. We were 5 children. And my parents hated toys that made sounds, that would play little songs, or you push something and it would go blah, blah, blah. And I was the oldest, so I was more on team parents than on team children at that point. And we sat down on Christmas night after the whole circus and took out a screwdriver and a pair of scissors. And then we opened these little machines that everyone had just gotten for Christmas and cut some wires so that they broke. And the younger generation grew up thinking that cheap stuff from China always breaks within the first day, so that it wouldn't make all that noise. That was a lot of fun. It was. Yeah, you can do it. I mean, that's controlling how you handle the situation. But I think trying to control the grandparents' relation with our children and trying to control how they handle their role as grandparents, it's not fair. No one should try to. I mean, try to control me. It would piss me off like 100,000 million trillion much. So I wouldn't, I mean, isn't it sort of a right to give someone a present if you want to give them a present? I would say so. How can you even, dictate what not to give? Is that fair?
So this brings up too the idea of like how advocacy, and obviously in our world, our children are amazing self-advocates, and they hardly need us now to advocate for them. I remember, there were times when my kids were younger and needed, me to do that for them. There was actually one year where one of my kids was devastated because he got all of the educational toys. And the other kids got all the fun toys, and he was devastated because he was like really sick of everybody thinking he was the smart one that should have the educational toys. And he was like, I just want fun toys like the others. And he was absolutely beside himself. And I did actually talk to everybody about it because he was so sad and he wanted me to. But now that they're older, they don't need that. But there's that gradual kind of organic transference of autonomy in that way, isn't there, from when they're little to they get older, and then they indicate like, oh, I can actually take that now, I don't need you to say anything on my behalf. But what you're saying, Cecilie, it really is about that kind of dance we do where I can do whatever I want to do, and you can receive that however you want to receive that. And I can do what I want to do, but I don't get to say what happens at the other end of that. And I guess it's the same with gift giving, isn't it? So, since we're talking about Christmas through an unschooling lens, like, sure, I can give someone a present that I want to give them without any regard of whether they're going to really like it or want it or have use for it or fit it in their backpack. I can do that. I'm allowed. It's my right to do that. And then they've got a right to go, actually, I don't really like that. Or I told you I didn't like that. Or remember, we decided we weren't doing presents and I actually don't want that. Like, the other person who's the recipient has the right to do that as well. And Christmas brings all of that stuff up, doesn't it? Because if you've also got all like the personality, all everything we've already talked about up until now, and then you add in that truth, like we are all like autonomous and we have the right to act how we want to act. Like that could be like really, really full on if you happen to have two people who at the same time have some kind of compromised bandwidth because of their own individual lived experiences of like trauma around Christmas. It could be like a,
well, that's the story of my life.
Families it is,
I think.
Yeah.
It can be really complicated, people crying and people, stories going down the family story that you just have to listen to. Remember that Christmas one?
Yeah, and that's something that you can dig a lot into, but probably not now as we're nearing the end. but yeah, I think that's actually quite important. That's the whole, that's the unschooling angle to it. That you can absolutely do, the grandparents can do, what they want, and you get to decide how you handle it in the other end. And the only thing is, depending on the level of healing you've done, the level of trauma, the level of maturity, the level of deschooling, all that decides whether you are actually able then to handle it in whatever way, because you can only do what you have the tools to do, and you can only do stuff. Like, I absolutely could not have done that at that. I mean, I could have done that, but I could not do that at that time.
No, I know.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying
and
that
I couldn't
listeners.
either. I mean, I'm not saying that you were in the wrong in any way. I'm just saying that I'm a little bit against the trying to control the grandparents, because in a way it's also their children, or at least it's a very important relation in their lives to have relations to their grandchildren, and for many children the relation to grandparents is a very important relation, and if we try to interfere with it and control it, I think we do not have that right, and I think we should try to back down a little bit and And so what if they get a Barbie castle? I mean, I know your daughters, both of them, they're pretty awesome. They survived the Barbie castle without any real trauma to their awesomeness. So yeah, that was just my point, that maybe we should try to get our shoulders down a little bit and let Christmas unfold the way it will unfold. And I've learned now to get over the idea that it has to be happy, it has to be perfect, it has to be special. Maybe it's just another Christmas with another weird set of traditions that and trauma and conflicts and problems that will unfold this year. And then in mid-January, we're over it. Thinking about something else. It's not beautiful final words. Anyone has beautiful final words for this podcast? We could say Merry Christmas.
I can show a beautiful final picture. Would you like me to share the screen and show you a picture?
Then you have to explain what's on the picture.
Oh, don't worry. That'll speak for itself. Don't worry.
Yeah, but only for those who are watching.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
Some people are listening.
Who are listening. It's not gonna show them. Okay.
You have to.
It was
maybe
just
you
like
do the voiceover without the picture.
Yeah. So it was the world's ugliest ever in the history of mankind. The world's ugliest Christmas tree ever. That was the year 2019, when Sarah's family and my family and another family, actually a lot of families, were spending Christmas together up in the northern Jutland in Denmark. And it's just like, it's like I went on and on about that being so ugly. And Sarah's like, no, everyone's like, no, it's fine. And of course it wasn't. And and that's just that's the thing again. It's like, so it was all fun and joking, right? But that's just another, like, the whole expectation around, oh, it has to be a beautiful tree with all the blah 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 blah. And and this tree was like, oh my God, so ugly, and so like a big fail, like so ugly. And we started making some ornaments and decorations, and it was part of it was decorated and part of it was not. And I had cut off some branches to try to make, because I remember my dad always saying, oh, you need to cut off some branches to make more space between. So I had completely disfigured the tree, and it was like, I don't know, there was no branches left. I was just horrible. And
there's a lot of gaps. So people who are listening to this, though, who are not Danish or have never been to Denmark at Christmas, might not know that Danish people put real candles on their trees with actual fire. So obviously, if you do not have enough gaps between the top of the flame and the next branch,
you might have
pine trees have got a fair degree of oil in them.
You could have put like 2-meter candles on each branch on this one. Oh my God. But the thing is, like, how it ties in, I guess, to this too, is that I really wanted to show everyone from Canada and Australia and the whole, like, oh, I want to show you the Danish Christmas tree and we've got real lights on them. And oh my freaking I was like, they must be so disappointed. It was just, so it was all good fun. But there was this, oh, I want to show you the Christmas, like, I'm going to show you, you know, and people are like, are you putting real candles on it? Wow, no. And then honestly, it was just like such a big fail when you looked at it. It was like, oh my God. But luckily, you know, we were in a setting of, you know, whatever, who cares, you know, it doesn't matter.
But I bet you had a great Christmas.
We did.
Yeah,
we did. You know, we had such it was amazing
that we're going to have great Christmases in whatever way we do it.
I can understand a bit the pressure on the Danish culture about, because you have a very high standard of decoration and things around Christmas. I don't have one.
Yes, they do. It's like next level.
It is extreme. It is.
Christmas.
The sock thing you mentioned earlier, Sarah, in my childhood, we didn't do socks, but we did like calendar, and there had to be one little present for every day of the 24 days in December leading up to Christmas. And having a lot of children, you're buying a lot of little bullshit things from China, wrapping it all, making sure that they are in level so that, you know, you can't give one child something very boring the same day another child gets something very interesting. And I have 4 children. We're up to almost 100 little things. And then my husband got jealous and I had to make one for him as well. And and that also had to be fair trade and handmade, but also cheap because obviously you can't afford it. So it was just, maybe it is next level in Denmark. I don't know. Maybe we can't get into the whole cultural difference thing at this point where we're trying to just find some beautiful last words. But
I guess what we can leave people with is, because we are speaking through the lens of unschooling and self-directed living, not just education, but living, this is really an invitation to, if you celebrate Christmas, reflect on what it means to you, which rituals and traditions are important for your family. And not that anyone needs our permission, of course, but you are invited to make Christmas, if that's the thing that you do, how your family wants to make it. And I suspect that if you do that with open-heartedness, you will bring in other members of your family quite naturally anyway, into your way of celebrating. This has been our experience.
And I think my final words would then be, if you hate it, then own it. Just fucking hate it. I said the F word now. I mean, it helped a lot for me when I finally just said it out loud. I hate this. Okay, we're going there. We're doing the thing. Just so everybody are clear, I officially hate it. I'm going to sit in a corner and hate it and smile. Now you all know. And we can...
You don't even have to smile.
Tomorrow.
You can just be grumpy.
No, but I mean, if you hate it, then hate it. It's okay. I think I'm a pretty awesome mom, and I've hated Christmas for a long time. So, I mean, that's okay too. It's a good moment to own who you really are and to, you know, stand up for what my values are. Not to do that whole dance. My values are elsewhere. Other things are important to me. And I find the whole circus theater, it's a show in many cases. We pretend that we're happy. We pretend we're really close. We pretend we're grateful for the presents. We pretend we didn't already know what was inside them. We pretend we're surprised. We pretend we like the food. It's all a big show.
Oh my God, I'm traumatized.
I hate that.
Hearing about your Christmas. No wonder you hate Christmas.
I love the show.
I'm so sorry.
But some people love the show. Then they go enjoy it, and I get to hate it.
Or it might not be a show. Might be genuine.
In some places, it is a show. I can guarantee you that. And I'm sure that in some families, it's not.
That was very beautiful. I think that was perfect. Beautiful. I've never heard anything like it.
Let's invite all the listeners to go enjoy
Merry Christmas
or get through Christmas. If anyone needs emergency help, they know how to find us. We're all on social media. We can pat your bags if you need it. Yeah, we'll talk to you again in January about something else. And thank you very much, beautiful women, for joining me. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.